there's like there's this narrative I couldn't get out of my head. And it's oftentimes I'm thinking about a manager or a person saying, man, I just wish the people I worked with had more self-awareness, and sort of this like tropey cliche. And, everybody talks about how this is the key, but oftentimes I think the part where I run into a challenge, or where I think the big challenge becomes is, well, how do you actually help somebody cultivate self-awareness? Like, to me, like what does that actually look like becomes the big question that I ask. And I know that you and Jerry connected in a one-on-one match in our digital community space the other week, and started to talk about some of the things that you do within your team to both cultivate awareness, but also to create connection and accountability. And so I'd love to kind of go back first to that conversation. How did that come up when you two were connecting, when you're talking about this practice?
Do you remember, Jerry?
Yeah, that was my first curated introduction within the new home of the ELC. We are connected, and I remember we talk about different things that resonated really strongly over the course of being a member of ELC. And I think the topic came up that the good practices that you've seen that work really well, especially in this remote world. And you are a pioneer in terms of remote working. You have been working entirely remotely a few years before the pandemic, and now you are sort of inventing new ways to create a sense of a team and also togetherness by encouraging people to share their not just the project goals or business goals, but this is personal goals as a group. That's something to me almost unheard of. The vulnerability and the willingness to share across a team and hold each other accountable. I think that's really important for in terms of cultivating a sense of belonging in this new remote working environment. Everything feels like more transactional now. Like even ping someone on the Slack, hey, can we have a conversation? That feels transactional, right? That's a very intentional. It's good, but also don't have the serendipitous encountering that help to build trust. So I think that approach immediately resonated, and I'm just really curious to learn more. That's how I remember we carried out that conversation.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I will say that definitely. I started in 2017. Teams in fully remote. We're across like the U.S. and Canada, and it is one of my things is you have to be intentional around like truly connecting with one another. So whereas like your stand-ups might be like these little short, 15 minutes is kind of the guidelines, but no, you need that extra 5 to 7 minutes for just banter and human connection, right? That's really important, as well as just creating those spaces for that throughout the entire work. Make it part of the work day, right? I know like a lot of teams and a lot of companies, have definitely benefited in this sense from the pandemic. And, as far as like, oh, we're going to do this team building activity and this team building activity. But what I found is team building is really in the little things. It's in the small moments. It's not just in the big events and the occasions. And so that's really how that collaboration comes to be, where you connect with your team members, you build that trust, you feel like, oh, I can collaborate with them, I can reach out for help, they can reach out to me for help. And it's the daily consistency about that that really, sets the groundwork for the whole thing.
I really appreciate that notion of team building is in the small moments, because I think it's so easy to get caught up in the flashy, big, one-off, once a quarter, once a month, big team event. But really what makes a difference is those small moments.